Hey everyone, welcome to Heal the Girl Network, a safe space for us to talk, share our stories, and learn from one another. I'm Kiana, and today we're going to be chatting with Dr. Nduati. She just so happens to be one of my longtime friends and sister in Christ. We've been friends since middle school, and I've been watching her journey unfold for years, and now she's a doctor, and this is my first time actually having a physician on the channel. I'm so excited to talk with her because she's going to give us some insight about the medical field. For those who might be interested in pursuing a career in medicine, this conversation is for you. She's going to be sharing her journey to the medical field, giving you some nuggets and some tools to navigate this field and more. She's a woman of faith, and her story is bound to inspire. So let's talk to Dr. Nduati. Dr. Ann, welcome to Heal the Girl. I'm so excited to have you.
I'm so excited to be here.
Thank you so much for your time. I know that you're a busy lady, so I really, really appreciate you taking the time to share your story with us today.
For sure.
At Heal the Girl, we want to take a walk in your shoes. So Ann, show us your favorite pair.
I guess I love them because they're simple, but there's a little bit of fun in the back. And my grandma got these for me for my birthday, so that makes
Oh, so sweet. Well, we love a nice, comfortable shoe. They're cool. You can wear them with anything. Those are really nice.
And to work, you can run in those.
You never know where you're going to need to run.
Exactly.
And so you are one of my longtime friends and sister in Christ, and I've been watching your story unfold. So today we're going to talk about that, your journey to the medical field, and also why representation matters in the medical field. So first off, tell us your why. Why did you choose this field of work?
It took a little bit to kind of like get there. I think originally, like, you would ask me when we were like going to middle school and like on the bus and stuff like that, I was like, oh, because I like helping people and I like science and it's cool. But then like over time, I kind of realized like those are like really sweet like childhood reasons why. But what I found was that I wanted to make an impact in people's lives, similar to the way the doctors did in my life, especially with my family and like just different things that we've gone through over the years. And then for me, a big part of it is faith. I don't overly spiritualize it, but I feel like everybody has a really awesome, unique purpose for their life, but it's kind of hard to do it if you're not feeling well. And so I'm like, one thing that I can contribute to that is helping you be as healthy as possible to do the purpose that God has designed you to have. So I felt like medicine kind of let me get to that place, help people in that way, and still do things that like I'm interested in, if that makes sense.
Definitely. So you're helping fuel people into their passion by living out yours.
Yes.
That is amazing. So for some of you who may not know, entering the medical field is a process of, sometimes it could take a few years. It can be a long process. So, Anne, can you tell me about the process? I mean, thankfully, it looks like you had a early introduction to this field. Can you tell me about that?
It's not for the faint of heart to speak, and it's like you pour in a lot before you start getting like the benefits of it, so to say. I know people are like, oh, you're gonna be a doctor, you're gonna make a lot of money. That's like not the reason to go into this. There's tons of easier ways to make money. But for me, kind of like when we were younger, like I got to do like different like programs where they would show you and get you exposure, so you could go to the cadaver lab and like see, can you handle like a cadaver, which is like a body that's used for medical purposes so that you can like study anatomy from it. And then times where I got to shadow at like clinics and offices, and like also see like, are you actually interested in listening to people tell you like their whole life story in a medical way? And so like from a young side, that's where I was interested. And then like as I was doing it, I was just amazed, because I'm like, one, it's like a privilege to get to sit in someone's potentially worst moment of their life. Because like for me, I go to the hospital all the time, but most people don't want to go to hospitals. We try to avoid hospitals at all costs. Like you just don't want to be sick. And usually the news that you're getting is not the news you want to hear, but like it's a privilege to be able to sit there and let someone trust you enough to be like, hey, like this is what I'm feeling. I'm scared. I'm vulnerable. It's whatever was happening. Like sometimes people are hearing things for the first time because like it's just stuff that you don't like share. Like, this is how I'm feeling, or like, yeah, I've been really tired lately, or whatever it might be. And so I like getting to be a part of their stories and like saying like, you know what, you're not the only one that experiences that. Like, this is the thing and you're not crazy. This is a syndrome, or like you know, what you're experiencing is real. And there's actually a way to help you feel better. And that's what we're here for, especially with kids. So I love doing that because kids like bounce back really fast. So you're like telling them like, I know you feel bad, but you're going to feel better. Do you want to like sticker? And they're like, yeah.
Oh,
like,
so
isn't that great?
Yes. So you are right now you are a pediatrician. So what do you enjoy most with working with children?
Well, one hand, like the day to day is fun because like there's no place that you really get to go to work unless you're with kids where you can like talk about Disney and like use your really like kid voice and like get on the floor and like roll the car when someone's like in the middle of a hospital. So like that side of it is fun, of just like the way kids are when they're sick. Like, yeah, they cry, but like they can't help it sometimes. And babies cry because that's their way of speaking. But like adults tend to like gripe on their things that are not going well. And I'm like, kids like just are like, all right, get me better. And when they're better, you know it. They're like ready to climb the crib. They're like, get me out of this place. Like they take their own IVs out, like stuff like that. So it's always cute, surprising, funny things. And then also for me, from like the medical side of it, I feel like if you can help a child like develop the lifestyles, skills, and choices and decisions and information that they need to be healthy, like you can prevent a lot of the stuff that we struggle with as adults. So I'm like, you get to pour into someone when they're building their life and their family, and just watch them kind of blossom and thrive from that place. So,
and that's huge. That is huge. It starts when we're little, if we can and if we can practice healthier lifestyles, it'll definitely help us as we get older. So let's talk about how important representation is in the medical field and the lack thereof. From your experience, why does representation matter so much?
So growing up, I didn't realize the degree of underrepresentation of like people of color in medicine. Because like my parents were really awesome. Like they told you anything is possible. Like don't worry about like if you set your mind to it and you're persistent and you're faithful in what you're doing, like you'll see the fruit of it later. And then I had really great exposure, like going through like middle school, high school, and whatnot. But I didn't realize how many people don't get that until like I was in college and then going through med school and just realizing like sometimes there's like you may be the only person of color in the room. And it's not because there aren't people who are interested. It's just because like it's really a difficult path to kind of get what's the word, grafted into, unless you have like exposure. And sometimes the resources and the support and whatever it may be. So one, I realized that like this is still it's not as straightforward, if that makes sense, to like you can't stumble your way into it. Like it's got to be intentional. There's like years of work that have to be put into it, and it starts when you're young. So for me, on one hand, it's like just the journey of getting into medicine, of like how do you do it. It's like it's important to see people who look like you do it, because then you're like, oh, it's possible and it's something I can do. And then also like there's still a lot of doors that have to be opened so that people can know that there's a way to get there, and how to do it, and what you should like be investing in, and the time that you need to like really like build out the plan like well. I know they tell you can like do any major you want, or like go into anything you do and then go to med school, but like sometimes that makes it a little harder if you already like coming from the place where like you don't know what it looks like to go through the training and whatnot. And the other half of it is in the community side. Like there was a kid that were like this year that I was taking care of, and probably like school age, somewhere between like 8 to 10 years old, who like I walked in the room and I'm talking with them, and they didn't realize like I was their doctor. And like when it hit them, the kid was kind of surprised and shocked, like, you're my doctor? And I'm like, oh, like you don't think I can be your doctor? Either one, because I'm a woman, which is a problem because you don't see like females as providers, but two, because I'm like, we're the same people, and you're looking at me and you associate us with anything in the hospital except for being the doctor. And
Mm,
like, I'm like, oh, it's because there's still not enough representation that like this is something that he could dream of for himself.
mhm,
That makes sense.
mhm. Definitely. Do you see the same lack in other minorities as well?
Yeah, so there's a term underrepresented in medicine. It's URM,
Mm,
and it's changed over the years of what like is there. But basically, if you look at the general population and you compare the percentage of your people like nationality or race background, and then lay it on top of medicine, like you'll see there's this disproportionate representation.
mm,
So it's kind of the opposite of like the opposite of the prison system. If you think like, oh, like say there's 12% of Black people in the population, but say 33%, I don't know if that's the exact number, but say 33%
mhm.
in prison, we're overrepresented in prisons. And then if you look in medicine, we're like underrepresented. So say there's 12% in the population at large, and then there's like maybe, I don't know, 3, 4% in the actual community. I don't know
Wow.
like exact numbers, but to give an idea. It's not just like Black people, but there's Blacks, Hispanics, certain groups from like um, Asian Pacific Islands, Native Americans. But yeah.
Wow. Well, that's huge. So I love what you said about starting while you're young. It's almost like the parent can hone in on the child's joy and interest in it so that way they can be introduced to it as they get older, because like you said, it's a long process, and I think it's best if you get some type of exposure young. So what would you recommend then for those that are being underrepresented in the medical field? How can you encourage them to pursue medicine?
Yeah. I think the first thing is realizing like it's possible. So like if you are a child or a younger person and you're like, hey, or even if you're an older person, you're like, hey, I want to go back and like change my career, like it's doable. Like there are ways to do it. And so it starts with like, this is what I want to do. And like, now I need to put in the work to get there.
Mhm.
So the first thing is like the mentality of like, it's possible because it is. And then the second thing is, okay, now where do I turn? And I'll say like there's tons of resources online and stuff that you can kind of look and just like look for like programs for um, underrepresented in medicine programs, summer programs, things for high schoolers. And then of course like reach out to like people that you see. So like whether it be like someone like myself that you know or someone like locally in your community, who can tell you like, hey, this is what I did to go to med school. Even if they don't necessarily look like you, they can at least tell you like you're going to do 4 years of undergrad, 4 years of medical school, and then your residency. And they can tell you like, hey, like this is what I did, or these are the schools that I went to. These are types of um, extracurricular activities I needed to like build your resume to a certain extent. So it's like you're going to need to do community service. It's nice to have some shadowing experience at some point, which is really easy because we love what we do for the most part. So even through COVID, you can find some, like if you find a doctor and you're like, hey, I kind of think I'd like to do it. And like, do you allow people to shadow? They might say, I can't shadow in my office, but I know someone, or like I can reach out and like everybody knows somebody who
Mm,
can help you at some point.
yes.
Kind of like throwing it out there, like, hey, I like this is what I want to do. Like, can you help me? And
Mhm.
letting people kind of just be like, oh yeah, for sure. Like, let me just blah, blah, blah. It was so like it's so easy when I was like in middle school and I would say stuff, or high school and I'd be like, I'd really like to do that. It's like, oh, come with me for a day and like just like follow me. It's like, oh, okay. And then you get to see it's like, oh, this is really cool. I like that. They're like, oh, you should look into this. And like people are
Wow.
willing to help. But it's a matter of like realizing it's possible. Like
Yes.
the other
Yeah.
side of it, especially if you're someone like I was a straight out of like high school person. So if you're in that position or you know someone who is young and wants to do it that way, like go find a pre-health advisor. There's health career programs like I did. There's pre-medical advisors that you can find and like tell them from the beginning, like, this is what I'm interested in. What do I need? What classes should I be taking? You know, are there any scholarships? Are there grants? Like look for ways to pay for it because it is expensive. But there's stuff out there that can help you.
Oh, that is great. The resources are there. And on top of that, like you said, ask questions and talk to people. You will not know until you ask, and the door will remain shut until you knock. So,
Exactly. Yes.
what do they say? The hungry bird doesn't, what is it? The bird doesn't get fed. A closed mouth doesn't get fed.
Oh, yes. I think the early bird catches the worm.
Something about the bird. You mentioned residency, and now you are living in Detroit, coming from Jersey. So what was that process like, and how was the residency program going?
It was crazy. So one hand of it, like you kind of know what's coming as you get to the end of medical school. Like there's a thing called the match, and like basically you pick what specialty you want. You do all the interviews and everything, and then you rank the programs you interview with. The programs that like you or that you interviewed at will rank you based off of like if they want you in their program or not. And then on the same day, everybody gets told like you either matched or you didn't. And then on that Friday, you're told where you match, to put it in short. And then like where you match is where you go. So the little military, like in the sense of like, all right, like you match. So if you interviewed in California and you're from New Jersey and you match in California, guess where you're going for the next 3 to 5 years? Cali. Which isn't bad. But if you match in Nebraska, like you're going to Nebraska. Like for me, I matched in Detroit. It was actually my like first pick, so I was really happy about it. It was a long process of like prayer and a lot of tears and like, God, is this where you want me to go? And like, this is where I want you to go, and like catch the picture. And so one side of it was like, it's a big like God thing for me, and it's not the same for everybody. Some people are like picking programs based off prestige, or they're picking programs off of like, I want to train in an urban setting, or I want to have some rural experience, whatever. That part of it is like the nitty gritty details and stuff. But for me, it was like a lot of the faith of like, where's the next place that you want me to be at, Lord? And like in this season of my life. And then like getting here was wild because I did it through the pandemic. So like all of our interviews were online. I'd never been to Michigan before. I like my first day in Michigan was like coming with my dad to move in to this for the program. And then like the whirlwind of like, oh my God, I'm a doctor. Like it's crazy because you worked for so many years and then like it happens and you're like, oh, ow, like how did this happen? Like I just like what? And like so that part of it was like just adjusting to like walking down the hallway and someone's like, hey doc, blah blah blah, and you're like not even paying attention. They're like, you. It's like, oh, me, the doctor. Okay, sure. Like, so just kind of getting adjusted to like, you know, being in this new season of life and like realizing that you're learning a lot, but you also know more than you think. And like, how do you find the confidence to make decisions? And like, you feel the weight of like, what I'm making a decision on like matters. If this is someone's child, and this is someone's life, and you want to do the right thing. So it's been crazy, but it's also been really cool.
Yes, I'm sure it has. I'm sure it keeps you on your toes a lot because
and on my knees.
We need prayer.
Yeah, like there are days like you like I like literally stopped at the front door. I was like, I cannot leave the house till I like God help. Like
Amen.
I don't know what I'm walking into, and like kids are having like mental health crises right now. I'm like, these are real like issues that you can't just like walk in and like willy-nilly like whatever I think. At least for me, I want to go in and make sure that like what I'm saying is like meaningful for them. So
well, I have to thank you for even just being in this field, pursuing medicine, becoming a physician, because we need people like you who really care about the people that you serve. And I love what you said about faith. I'm also a strong believer, and I truly believe that that makes a difference. Praying before you go into work, even just doing what I do, I got to pray first too. So I could only imagine like being in the field where it's demanding, you know, and it's a lot of work. And we were just talking even like before we recorded about how you are pretty much on call right now, but there are many times that you can't, like you have to be devoted to this field and you can't say no even when you feel like saying no. So thank you so much for your sacrifice, because this is a huge undertaking, but it's also very fulfilling, I'm sure. And we're grateful for you to be in this field and also representing, you know, which is great.
I do feel like it's more of a calling to a certain extent. Like a lot of people kind of know they want to go into it, whether they call it a calling or not, whether it's, this is just what my family's in medicine. So I was in medicine, and it's
Mm-hmm.
like, yeah, but your family has like a gift to like serve people in this way. And
Exactly.
we're still a weird old profession that like takes an oath. And I think that that's a serious thing.
Yeah,
We all stand together and profess to the people who are watching us start the journey that like, I'm here to serve and I'm here to care for this
definitely.
community. And so like,
Definitely.
thank you. It's a sacrifice, but it's also like, to me, it's more of a privilege, if that makes sense.
Mm.
Like that, like there's places I realize I could walk into and like sit down and just like ask you really invasive questions. Like you would never ask someone on like the bus this question, because they'd be like, who are you? And like, why are you, like, you're all up in my business. But like I can walk in and be like, hey, do you take drugs? Like, like
Right,
I really
right.
don't like, not that I don't care. Like if you take them or not, it doesn't matter. But like, I need to know so I can do what's best to help you get better.
Yes,
Um, and
yes.
yes, even for kids, like, hey, you may never have told your parent this, but are you doing X, Y, or Z? Because like those things could harm you physically. And I need to make sure that like whatever we're going to do here to help you is not going to cause that
Right.
problem. So I don't know.
Right. We have to trust our doctors, right? We have to be transparent and vulnerable with you. So it makes it better when we can actually trust our doctor, and feel comfortable with
Help me help you.
it. So you are now in Detroit for what, 4 more years?
So I'm coming to the end of my first year, so 2 more.
Okay, so 2 more. Okay. So what's the next step after this for you?
Ugh. That's gonna be a lot more prayer. For me, so when you finish residency in general, like you can either stop and be a general, like primary care provider in whatever your specialty is. Um, if that's like internal medicine, family medicine, OBGYN, gen surge, um, that's at the end of residency. Or if you wanted to like subspecialize, you can go and do like an additional however many years it takes for your fellowship. So like if you want to do cardiology or uh, I don't know, oncology or like whatever, like subspecialty. So for me, I'm struggling because I have to like make that decision kind of soon of like, do I want to do primary care only, or do I want to like add a subspecialty in the mix?
Mhm.
Yeah, so still thinking on it.
Well, you're a prayerful woman, and the Lord will lead and guide you. He will show you exactly where you need to be. This has been such an informative conversation with you, Anne, and I'm so glad that you're enlightening the viewers and the listeners about this field. And I'm learning more because if it weren't for you, there's so much about this that I would not know. But I believe that this is going to help others who might have a similar passion and a zeal for helping people. And again, so grateful for you using your gift and sharing this with others. So do you have any closing remarks? Anything else that you want to add?
Yeah, I guess like two things. So one is like, um, if you're interested in going into medicine, particularly to become a physician, or if you have someone in your life that is like, I really want people to know like it's possible, but it's also like it's not like an easy thing. So one, you don't have to feel pressured to make the decision like today, like, okay, this is what I'm gonna do. And I need to like go find all the things she talked about, make a list of every program in the nation and like, like go overboard on that side. But like just get yourself exposed, get connected with people locally that you can kind of talk to. And just kind of get more of an understanding of what it's going to be like. And if you're a person of faith, like pray about it, because like the most important thing is that you find the reason like you're born and like do it well. Like whatever it is that you're doing, do it well. Like don't like try to become someone else. Find out what you're supposed to become, because that's how you're going to make the most like impact and feel the most like fulfilled in your life. Like I can't explain like when I finally graduated and then like right before I start, like there were days like I would just be walking down the hallway and like teary-eyed because it was just like, wow, like God, like I'm doing what you want me to do. Like that feeling, I hope everybody gets to find that place where they're like, this is what he wants me to do. Like this
Amen.
moment is what God wanted for me. This moment is like what I was like born or created for. And the other thing is like, it's a lot of work. Like I don't want to scare people away either, but I'm like it is a lot of work. And so like once you make the decision, like it's kind of like a marriage. Like I am married to medicine, so to speak. Like there's going to be days that you're like, I hate this. I don't know what I was thinking. Like, but then you're gonna be like, you know what? I have student loans that I need to pay back or something. And then you're like, I have to stick with it. So like, it's okay also to feel those things. Like as you're going through the journey, anything that's like worth you like living for is going to cost you an extent of like, was I crazy? Did I really say yes? You know?
Yeah.
And that's normal. So like whether you choose medicine or you decide to become a teacher, that's like not for the faint of heart either. Like I could never be in a classroom all day with kids and like be responsible for their learning.
Right.
So like whatever you choose, just like know like there's gonna be hard days, but if you look at it and you're like, no, like even with the worst possible day, even with looking at a family and telling them like this is not gonna end well, like this is still where I feel like I belong, kind of a thing. It's pretty cool. And you're not your profession, which was another long process of like learning. But what you do is not who you are. If that makes sense.
Those are awesome key points, and definitely keeps you grounded.
All over the place.
What was that?
Like all over the place.
Those are great though. Those are all wonderful key things to keep in mind. Also, did you have another program that you want to mention as well as a resource for people to check out when pursuing this field?
Yeah, particularly for like if you're underrepresented in medicine, I went through like a health careers program. So if you look at like different, usually state colleges, some of the like IVs and stuff, they have them. It's always a really good resource to connect with. And then I did like summer programs, also like with mostly like medical schools will have them, usually in like June, July, August, post the like regular semesters. So like the one I did was summer medical dental education program. I think they changed their name to like summer program of like health related professions. Like if you look for something along those lines, you'll see exposure. I didn't personally do this, but I know that there's some even with like NIH and the CDC. So if you're interested in like pandemic control or epidemiology, like there's stuff like that that's out there too. And they love young people. So like just like literally search and ask. The worst you can do is ask and they say no, and then you find another program that works for you.
Absolutely. Apply yourself.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm so grateful for this opportunity to talk to you. Thank you so much for encouraging the viewers and the listeners and me. I love what you said just now about finding your passion and being led by faith into the field of work that you're called to be in, because we all have a purpose. Thank you so much for bringing that point home. Thank you so much for joining me today. And also, how can people reach you?
I'm gonna give my email, and if I don't respond like swiftly, please don't feel bad about like sending a second one, but like give like a couple days or so. But I check my email all the time, so
great.
But also I want to say thank you for having me, because like first of all, I would do this 1,000 times over, but for everybody who's watching, like this girl has been the same, like genuine, happy, smiley, laughing, like spreading a light since middle school, since before middle school. So like what you're seeing is really her, and I am excited to be here because this is you doing exactly what we've been talking about too, of like touching people in a way that like you were designed to touch people. So.
Well, thank you so much, Anne. It's only right for me to have you on here and for us to collaborate. So this is a pleasure on both ends. I will be sure to leave your email in the description below. So if anyone has questions regarding the field, medicine, becoming a physician, you can reach out to Dr. Nduati. I was about to say Dr. Nduati, but we talked about that. Dr. Nduati, the N is silent. Well, thank you again, Anne. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to share this video with a friend, give it a thumbs up, and leave a comment below if you enjoyed it. We'll see you next time.